Shiva, sir.
So we'll start off with the prayers as usual. Let's do them together. Om Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu
No
Bhunaktu Sahaviryam
Saviryam
Karvavahe
Karvavahi
Tejasvinavadhitamastu Vidvishavahai. Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti.
Shanti.
Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya. Welcome to the class.
Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya.
So we had completed a very important verse, the 16th one, and I hope that all of you all have understood properly. So I assume there are no more questions about that verse, and we will carry on to the next verse, the 17th one. Okay. So let us chant the 17th verse. Shri Bhagavanuvacha
Bhaganuvacha
Avinashitu tadvidhi
Avinashi Tadvidhi
Yena sarvam idam tatam
Yena
Idam tatam
Vinasham avyayasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati.
Nakashtim Arhati.
Okay. So, as usual, first I'll give you the grammar portion. So, Avinashi tu tadvidhi is to be broken up. Tad plus vidhi. Avinashi tu tadvidhi. Yena sarvam. So, ma with a halant below it. Sarvam. Idam tatam. Then the first word of the second line is to be broken to three words. Vinasham. Again, ma with a halant. Avyayasya. Vinasham plus avyayasya plus asya. Avyayasya asya. Then na kaschit kartum arhati. Kaschit artum arhati. The ta has in kaschit ta has halant. Kartum ma has halant. Then the anvaya. Yena tu idam sarvam tatam. Yena tu idam sarvam tatam. Or you can put the tu in front. Tu yena idam sarvam tatam, comma. Tad avinashi vidhi. Full stop. So tu yena idam sarvam tatam. Tad avinashi vidhi. Full stop. Na kaschit asya. Na kaschit asya avyayasya vinasham kartum arhati. Na kaschit asya avyayasya vinasham kartum arhati. So yena, that tu is meaning but. So that but is to point out that what is being said is different from what was said in the earlier verse. So tu, but yena, jisse, by which. Yena means jisse, by which. Idam sarvam, this entire, so idam is taken as a pronoun which meaning idam jagat. Okay, so whenever you see the idam in this context, remember it means idam jagat. So idam sarvam tatam. Tatam means pervaded. So yena tu idam sarvam tatam. By that which pervades this entire universe, tad avinashi. Know that to be avinashi, to be indestructible. So remember, this tad is to be connected to what?
Tattva.
Brahman.
Tat Brahman.
No, in this
Yena.
line,
Yena.
yena. That grammatical connection is right. Tad has to be connected to yena, that by which. Okay. Ye jis se. That's the Hindi version of it. Vidhi avinashi. You should know vidhi that tad to be avinashi, indestructible. So all very important words. So please pay careful attention. Na kaschit, no one. Asya avyayasya. Asya is this, or rather of this, iska. The Hindi version is iska. Asya iska. Kiska? Avyayasya. That which has no change. So again, this avyayasya is an adjective that which does not change. It is qualifying the pronoun asya. What is this asya? It is that same Brahman. Okay. Yena tad asya. Yena, asya has to be connected to yena. So that Brahman which does not change. And vinasham kartum arhati has to be connected to na kaschid. Na kaschid vinasham kartum arhati. No one can bring about the destruction of this Brahman. Okay. This is the meaning of that sentence. So we'll reword it in for easier understanding. Vidhi, will you know, tad avinashi. That Brahman is indestructible. So this is the main idea. Tvam vidhi tad avinashi. You should know that that Brahman cannot be destroyed. And the rest are subordinate sentences. They are qualifying that idea. So what do they say? Yena sarvam idam tatam. That Brahman by which all this is pervaded. So somebody is unmuting themselves. What I'll do is I'll mute you all without the option of unmuting. Okay, then anyway. So tad avinashi tu vidhi, you must know that tad is the pronoun representing Brahman, is avinashi, is indestructible. And the rest are qualifying sentences. That Brahman yena sarvam idam tatam, by which this entire universe is pervaded. That Brahman which is present everywhere in this entire universe. And kaschid, nobody, na kaschid, nobody, na arhati kartum vinasham. Nobody is able to destroy what? Asya avyayasya. This Brahman which is not subject to any changing. Avyaya means no vyaya, no changes. So that Brahman which is changeless cannot be destroyed by anybody. Okay. So you remember the different those descriptions of Brahman which we had given earlier. We had given 7 descriptions. Now this description is qualifying which one is which is to be connected to
Nityaha.
Nitya.
Nitya, consecrated.
Right. So we are talking here about Atma Nitya. Atma is presented in a different language. Atma is eternal. But here, instead of saying Nitya, Krishna says, he uses a different word. He says Tat Avinashi, not perishable, not destructible. It's the same thing. What is not destructible is Nitya, is eternal. So that is what he's saying. And Tat here refers to that Atma. Now, this Atma, in terms of your verse number 16, what is the qualifier for this Atma in verse number 16? What are the two words which describe this Atma from verse number 16?
Satah.
That is one word. But another one?
Vidyate.
Na abhavaha. What does na abhava mean?
Non-existent.
What?
There is never a
Non-being.
non-existent.
There is never any non-being. So abhava, that Atma which has no abhava. Okay, that is important to remember. Why is important to remember? Because the pot will get destroyed, but the clay can never be destroyed. The clay continues, and therefore he's saying that this Atma continues. All Anatma will be destroyed, but this Atma is Avinashi, and that can never be destroyed. So, in his commentary, this Atma is given the name Vishnu by Shankaracharya. The Vishnu is from the Dhatu Vish, which means to pervade. Vyapta, it's present everywhere. Okay, so Vishnu means that which pervades everywhere. Every name, as you know in Sanskrit, will have a meaning. There is no name which is just a name. Like in English, we have John, right? John has no meaning, excepting the word. But here, every word in Sanskrit, in the Indian language, every word, every name also has a meaning. So here, this Vishnu means that which pervades, that which wraps around the whole world. And that's why you have the word Veshti. Veshti is a cloth which you wrap around yourself. That also comes from the same root, Vish. And therefore Krishna says, hey Arjuna, Vidhi. Please understand this clearly. Vidhi means you should know, you should understand clearly, and you should assimilate this fact which I'm telling you. Which fact? He says, look at the second line. Kaschit vinasham kartum na arhati. Nobody can destroy this Atma. Even Bhagavan, the Lord, cannot destroy the Atma. So Satvastu, again, the definition comes from verse number 16. Satvastu is Advaitam, is Ekam, non-dual. And when it is, the word Advaitam is the reason, right? The word Advaitam here is the reason why this Lord cannot be destroyed. So when you say that Advaitam entity cannot be destroyed, what is the reasoning? What is the logic?
If we destroy it, it becomes Dvait because then it's divided further.
No, that's not the reason.
That it's a part of
Think about it.
Paramatma.
Why is Advait Vastu, a non-dual entity, why can it not be destroyed?
Because it is
There
the
is no
only one.
destroyer.
Has no
It is
beginning
the
or
only
end.
one.
There is no destroyer.
Very good. Advaitam
No.
means there is only one, and the
Eternal.
destroyer has to be somebody else, right? So there is no second entity to destroy. And that is why Advaitam is that which cannot be destroyed at all. Ekam Advaitam. It is the only Vastu. It is the only entity. There is nobody to destroy or damage it. Okay, this is the Sat Vastu, the existence principle. How do we get to this Sat? If I have to, the pot, for example, you take, the pot is made of clay, right? Now this clay, if I want to get to, I do not have to destroy the pot. I do not have to convert the pot by destroying it and make it clay. It is all purely a question of understanding, right? So as long as I am looking for a connection between the pot and the clay, it's a very important sentence, okay? As long as I am looking for a sambandha, a connection between pot and clay, I have not really understood. Why have I not understood? Because the pot is clay. The pot is clay, but clay is not the pot. Do you understand? The pot is definitely clay. That I can say. It's a factual statement. But I cannot say that clay is the pot. Is it clear or is there a question on that?
Yes, it's clear.
Raviji,
Yeah.
one question, Ji. What do you compare the pot with and the clay with, please?
The pot is
Nitya.
karyam, the product.
Okay.
The clay is the karanam, the cause. So there is a cause and there is a product.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Ji.
Now, since the pot is clay, what is the connection between pot and clay?
It's one. It's one and the same.
Inseparable.
Satyam and Mithya.
That is different. That's a different
Cause
issue.
and effect.
There's no connection.
Absolutely. Why is there no connection?
Because they're one.
Because for any connection, see, you have to, everything has to be logically explained. For any connection to take place, there must be at least two things. Right? You can say the pen writes on the paper. There is a connection. Paper is one thing, pen is another thing. But here I am saying that pot is clay. So there are no two entities. So where is the question of a sambandha? Right? And therefore, whenever you look for a sambandha between the pot, which is mithya, and the clay, which is satyam, you have not really understood. Because mithya is nothing but satyam, though you cannot say that satyam is mithya. Okay? So I'm going slowly because this concept has to be clearly understood. No questions? I assume that you understood. Okay. Okay. And so Shankara says that avyaya here, avyayasya. Avyaya means that which does not change. What do you mean by change? Increasing size, decreasing size, changing of one form to another form, solid to liquid to vapor form. Wherever there is a form, change is possible. And what is this change? We saw in Tattva-bodha. What are the changes?
Shadvikara.
What are they?
Asti jayate, vardhate, viparinate, apakshiyate, vinashyate.
Okay. For any of those changes to take place, what is necessary?
Form.
A form is necessary. So without a form, no change is possible. And now look at the word sarvam idam tatam. That which pervades everything. When something is pervading everything, what is the closest idea that you can get? Space. Akasha. Space pervades everything. What is the form for space?
No form.
And that is why you never see space changing. Because space has no form. Something which has no form cannot change. Okay, so this is what is trying to be conveyed. When he says sarvam idam tatam, a very important line. He says sarvam idam tatam, and therefore no shadvikara is possible, and therefore avinashi. Right? So look at the two lines. Avinashi tu tadvidhi Yena sarvam idam tatam. Understand that the Brahman is Avinashi because it pervades everything, because it has no form. And because it has no form, it is changeless. And asya avyayasya. This changeless Brahman, na kaschit vinasham kartum arhati. Nobody can destroy it. Ultimately, both mean that Atma is indestructible. Both the lines, right? Look at the two lines. Avinashi tu tadviddi yena sarvam idam tatam. Because it pervades the entire and everything that is there, it is Avinashi. That is one. That is the meaning for the first sentence. The second sentence is Asya avyasya kaschit vinasham na kartum arhati. Nobody can destroy this unchanging Atma. That also means what? It is indestructible. Both the sentences mean that it is indestructible. Do you agree?
Yes.
Now, there is a primary rule in Shastra. No idea should be repeated too many times. It's called a punar ukti dosha. Punar ukti means speaking again. So, repetition. Punarukta means repetition. Repetition is considered to be a defect in the Shastram because Shastram is supposed to be very compact. So, is this not a punarukti dosha? That question can come up. And therefore, Shankara gives a reply. He says, no. The first line, Avinashi tu tadviddi yena sarvam idam tatam, that is used to indicate that there is no possibility of self-destruction. That Brahman will not destroy itself. How? By old age, by death, without any external entity, right? Because earlier we said that if there is no second entity, destruction is not possible. So here there is also a possibility. Somebody might raise a question that, okay, there is no second entity, but supposing I was the only human in the world with no other humans, nobody destroy me, I would still die, right? So there is self-destruction by old age, by natural processes. Cannot Brahman be destroyed by that? So Shankara says no. That is why it's repeated twice. The first line means that there is no self-destruction. Atma cannot be destroyed. The second line is also Atma cannot be destroyed. It means there is no external cause for destruction. It cannot be destroyed by any disease, by weapons, by some other person. It cannot be destroyed. Therefore, external and internal destruction of the Atma is not possible. Now, secondly, we said that there is no relationship between pot and clay. They are the same vastu. Similarly, no relationship can exist between Atma and Anatma because Atma is indestructible, Anatma is Atma, but Atma is not Anatma. That again you need to understand very clearly. That is why we took the example of pot and clay. We said that pot is clay, but clay is not pot. Why? What is the reason that you cannot say clay is not pot?
Because clay can be anything. It can be a toy, it can be a utensil, it can turn into anything.
Anything, right? So we can say that
The
the
Nama
body,
is changing here.
yes. So we can say the body is Atma, but Atma is not the body. Atma can take many things. Okay. Now, then another question is, if there are parts, if something has parts, several parts, destruction is possible, right? Because I can use my one hand to cut off my other hand. So if there are parts, destruction is possible, which is why suicide is possible for a jiva. Because there are parts. Jiva is not one whole partless entity. Different parts are there. Hands are there, legs are there, neck is there, head is there. But Shankara points out that in the case of Atma, Atma is completely partless. It is akhanda. There are no parts at all. And something which has no parts, for example, we took space. Can you destroy space? No, you cannot destroy space, right? Whatever you do to space, space cannot be destroyed. Similar, because it has, the main reason is it has no parts. Unless something is a product, a composition of various parts, it cannot be destroyed. And since Atma has no parts, you cannot destroy Atma. And that's why Shankara says, there is no connection between Ishvara and Atma. He very specifically points out that not even Ishvara can destroy Atma. Why? Because of this particular reason. Ishvara is not different from Atma, from Brahman. Because of the fact that it's not different, they are the same, they are partless. And therefore, there is no kartra karma sambandha. There is no doer and action done relationship between Ishvara and Atma. Okay, Atma here is taken as Satchidatma. And that is why is avyaya. Ishvara cannot destroy Atma just as my one hand can destroy the other. So what is the natural question out of this? If Ishvara cannot destroy Atma, how can you say that Ishvara is omnipotent? Sarva Shaktiman. What is the answer to that? Because Sarva Shaktiman means I should be able to destroy everything. Omnipotent means I have all powers.
Ishvara is Atma.
Okay. But can you think of a better reason?
Ishwar comes from Prakriti, and that is eternal. So in some form it is there.
When you say, I can destroy something, there is an underlying logic. The omnipotent...
There is something.
Same
Sorry?
order of reality.
No, omnipotence is the power to destroy all that which can be destroyed. You must remember that. Even an omnipotent being will not be able to destroy that which cannot be destroyed. Of course, here the reason is different, right? Here the reason is that Atma hi Brahman. The destroyer and the destroyed are the same. And logically also, the subject, karta of an action cannot be the karma, the object of the action. The subject and the object cannot be the same, and therefore destruction is not possible. And we also said avyayasya. This Atma cannot be destroyed, and therefore Ishvara cannot destroy Atma. That's one reason is logic. Swatmani ja kriya virodhat. An action cannot be done upon yourself. When you say that I am touching myself, I can touch, I am touching myself. Logically, can you analyze what that means?
I am touching a part of me.
One part of me is touching the other part. But take just one part, this forefinger, for example. Can that forefinger touch itself?
No.
No.
This is what it means. Swatmani cha kriya virodhat. An action cannot be done upon yourself. So when the Sukshma Shariram kills the Sthula Shariram, we call it suicide. One part has destroyed the other part. Okay, so this is the explanation to avyayasya vinasham na kartum arhati. That which cannot be changed, cannot be destroyed. And then come back to the yena sarvam idam tatam, which is important. Yena. By this yena, remember what is being referred to is the Sat Vastu of the 16th verse. That Atma, that Sat Vastu is referring to, right? He says the whole creation is pervaded, vyaptam, by that tatam. Tatam means vyaptam, pervaded. By yena, by that Sat Vastu, by that Brahman. So there are two things here. Not only is Atma eternal, Atma is also all pervading like space. And if Atma is all pervading, how many Atmas can be there? There is only one space. There are no multiple spaces. And similarly, like space, which is non-dual, all pervading, and that is why it is non-dual, Atma is also all pervading. Atma is also non-dual. Okay. So remember that space is also pervaded by Atma. You cannot say only Jagat is pervaded. Akasha is also pervaded. And there are all multiple anatmas are there. All those multiple anatmas are also pervaded by Atma. So anatmas can be counted, but Atma is Eka, only one. And we often say that Lord is there in everybody's heart. Okay, it's not multiple Lords. There are multiple hearts, but the all-pervading Atma is there in everybody's heart, just like the all-pervading space is there in every single body. The space is not divided because of the multiplicity of bodies. Similarly, Atma is not divided because of the multiplicity of anatmas. And Ishvara is there in every form. That's why we say every single form that you see is pervaded by Ishvara. Every manifestation, every animal that you see, every tree that you see, every human that you see, Ishvara pervades them all, which is the reason that you do namaskara to everybody. You are not doing namaskara to the body alone. You are doing namaskara to the Ishvara who is pervading. Ishvara Swarupam. You are doing namaskara to that only. And so if you see an ant, you can do a namaskara to the ant also. If you see a cow, you can do namaskara to the cow also. The containers are all different, but the content is the same. Atma is one and the same. You may have different containers, but the content is always the same. Okay, so far we have seen what? Atma Nitya, Atma Satya, Atma Sarvagataha, all pervading. So it can be seen that the entire 17th verse is a commentary on what term used in the 16th verse?
No abhava. Satvastu.
Satvastu. What does Satvastu mean in English?
That which does not change.
Yes, Sat actually means existence. Okay.
Existence.
So there's an existence principle that we're talking about. And therefore, the entire 17th verse is a commentary on the 16th verse, Satvastu, because Satvastu is that which pervades everything. That is what is being said. Okay, now we will come to the 18th verse. So please unmute yourself and we can chant it. Antavanta ime deha Nityas yokta sharirinaha Anashino prameyasya Tasmad yudhyasva bharata. Okay, so I'll just mute you all. And now we look at the words. Anta vanta. Ime dehaha. Then nityasya. The nityas yokta has to be nityasya uktaha. Two words. Nityasya uktaha shariranaha. Anashinaha. The anashino can be converted to anashinaha with a visarga after the na. The avagraha is dropped. It becomes aprameyasya. And the third word is tasmat yudhyasva. Tasmat yudhyasva Bharata. And we can, the Anvaya will be Nityasya Anashinaha Aprameyasya Sharirinaha Ime Dehaha Antavantaha Ukta. Full stop. Tasmat Yudhyasva, comma, He Bharata.
Will you please repeat that?
Okay. Nityasya Anashinaha Aprameyasya Tasmat Yudhyasva sorry. Nityasya Anashinaha Aprameyasya Sharirinaha Ime Dehaha Antavanta Uktaha. Ime Dehaha Antavanta Uktaha. Full stop. Tasmat Yudhyasva, He Bharata. So Nityasya, that Yasya, that suffix indicates jiska, of. So Nitya is eternal. Nityasya is of the eternal. Anashinaha, indestructible. Aprameyasya. So Aprameyam we discussed in the earlier classes. Do you remember what it was? What is Aprameyam?
Which cannot be experienced.
Which cannot be like the word comes from Pramata, Pramanam, Prameyam. Right? So knower, the instrument of knowing is Pramanam, and that which is known is the Prameyam. Aprameyasya means that which cannot be known, which cannot be experienced. So Aprameyasya means of that which cannot be known or experienced. Sharirinaha. Sharirinaha is the one who is residing in the Shariram. So like Dehi. Dehi means the one who is the Deham, the body. Shariri is the one who is in the Shariram. So these words you should get used to. Dehi stays in Deham. Shariri stays in Shariram. One inside the body. Ime Dehaha, these bodies, Anta Vantaha. Antavantaha means be subject to Antaha, is subject to death. Uktaha is said to be. Okay, so I'll come to that. Tasmat, therefore, Yudhyasva, fight. Get up and fight. Hey Bharata. Hey Arjuna, get up and fight. So here, if you look at it, he says, Ime Dehaha, these bodies of whom? Bodies which are pervaded by, that you understand. These bodies which are pervaded by, that is why I say Sharirinaha. Sharirinaha ime dehaha, the bodies which are pervaded by the Shariri, the Atma, and the Nityasya Anashinaha Aprameyasya are Visheshanam, adjectives for the word Shariri. This Atma which is timeless, indestructible, and cannot be experienced. The bodies which Atma pervades, ime dehaha antavantaha. So, uktaha antavantaha. They are said to be subject to death. Therefore, hey Arjuna, get up and fight. Right? So what he is saying is these bodies which are pervaded by the timeless or the eternal, indestructible, non-experienceable Atma, they are said to be subject to death. And therefore, Arjuna, you have to fight. So what does he mean? Let us see. Now the 17th verse I said was a commentary on the word Sat, existence principle. And the word Sat we saw there, it meant na abhavaha, that which has no non-existence. And what did Asat, what was the definition of Asat in 16th verse?
Always abhava.
Asat was that which had no
Existence.
Existence.
bhava, right? No existence. That which can never have existence was Asat. That which had never had no existence, that was Sat. So 17th verse was a commentary on Sat. The 18th verse is a commentary on Asat. So this is how this is to be understood. There are two words which are the main concept used in verse number 16, Sat and Asat. And they were defined as Abhava and Bhavaha. And now these two words are Vyakhyanams, longer commentary on those two words. That is how the Gita progresses. Okay, so Krishna here is repeating the main idea given before. What does he say? Nityasya sharirinaha anashinaha. All these are ideas which have come before. Atma is Nitya, eternal. Atma is Anashina, it cannot be destroyed by any means. And Sharirinaha, this Atma is in the body, intimately associated with the body. So Shariram means the body, Shariri means that which is within the body, and therefore Atma is Shariri within the body. Whenever you say this word, ki Sharir mein Atma hai, the Atma is in the body, you have to use that within quotations. Why? Because Krishna has said earlier, Sarvam idam tatam, which means that it is within the body also. It is all pervading. Sarvam idam tatam means all pervading, and therefore it is within the body and without the body. That all pervading idea has to be understood whenever you say Shariri. Shariri is not just in the body, Shariri is also outside the body. So when you say within the body, you say also within the body. Just like the pot space. You call it pot space because there is space in the pot. But there is also space in the hall, in the room. And the space in the room is called room space. The space in the hall is called pot. The pot is called pot space. It's only a special name given because there appears to be some sort of a container in which the space is. But there really is no container. It's not the space which is in the pot. It is the other way around. It is the pot which is in the space. And therefore, Shariri is the special name like the pot space. Shariri is a special name for the all-pervading Atma, which as if is in the body. So this is the nature of the Atma. And therefore, whenever you say Atma, from today onward, you should not say my Atma. Never say it is my Atma, because that Atma which is within your body is also outside your body. And then what about the Anatma? So he says, Ime Dehaha. All these bodies in which also the Atma is there, all these bodies, Anta Vantaha. Vantaha means endowed with, having the attribute of, having the guna of what? Of Antaha. So Antavantaha means having the guna of Antaha, of death. Why? Because whatever is born has to die. So Antaha means Maranam, and that is why Lord Yama has got a special name, Antakaha. I don't know if you heard it. Antakaha is the one who brings about the Anta. So that is why Yama is called Antakaha. Anta means Maranam. And Antavanta means they have the attribute of death. They are subject to death. All these bodies are subject to death. So as Atma, I am not subject to death. I am immortal. But if I think I'm the body, I become mortal immediately. And therefore, the wisest thing to do is to accept Atma as it is, immortal, and to accept the body as it is, mortal. There is no point ever complaining about the fact that you are growing old, that your body is going to die one day, that somebody else's body died the other day. So the best thing to do is to understand. There's a whole thing being conveyed here is that the body is a product. It is born. Whatever is born has to die. And therefore, never complain about the mortality of the body. Gracefully accept the mortality of the body. There's one more important point in the sloka. Yeah, go ahead.
So, a question here. Now, since we all have been born in this world, okay, ideally we are living because we have this body as a tool. Now, we do grow old, we do have health issues. So, how is it that we can overcome all these and think of just the Atma part?
You are accepting yourself as the body. If you accept yourself as the body,
Which is
then
anyways going to die. But we will be in pain, right?
your body will be in pain. You, how can you be in pain?
Is it the power of tolerance out here?
So these are all these tiksha, tolerance, all these things are meant for the body. We are talking about the Atma over here.
Okay.
When you say I said this before also, a Vedantic student, when he says I, must carefully understand what he means by that I. Whenever I use the word I, am I using it for I the Atma? Am I using it for I the Jiva? Accordingly, your understanding will differ. 99.99% of the people use it for I the body. If you are I the body, you are definitely going to be subject to death. That is why antavantaha. Okay. So it's too early for you to really assimilate this because we are in the beginning of the second chapter. Real assimilation can take place only after maybe the 15th or 16th chapter. We're talking 4 years down the line. So don't be in a hurry.
Thanks.
Okay. So that was the first point, that gracefully accept the mortality of the body. So in other words, accept that the body will go back to the cause, which is Maya. That is taken as death. But Shankara says that this Antavanta, you can take it as in the philosophical sense. You can take it as understanding that the body is mithya. And if the body is mithya, you can negate the body through jnanam, right? So it is not the destruction of the body because the body went from the visible form to the invisible form. That is what we mean. Normally, when you say death, you mean the body has gone from the visible form to the invisible form, from vyakta rupam to avyakta rupam, right? Like when you say water is boiling, that water is destroyed by going from the visible water to the invisible steam. See, that is birth and death, right? Here we are saying the body is destroyed by going from visible form to invisible form. That is a normal understanding. So that is one destruction. But there is the jnana nimitta nasa. That is a destruction because of knowledge also. Where the body remains visible while you are existing. Okay, this is not talking about physical death. I am saying the body is there very much. You still have your body, but the very existence of the body as a real entity is negated. Where did this idea come from? The very satta of the body, the existence of the body itself is negated through jnana. Where did this idea come from?
Moksha.
Advait.
No, you have to understand whatever been being taught in the last 2-3 classes.
Nanu Shochanti Pandita verse.
Nope.
Because
Is
the
it
body.
because I'm not the body?
Because of the
Satta means what?
non-existence.
Satta is
Because
what?
the body is subject to change.
Ever
And
existent.
That which exists.
Satta is the existence, right? And where does it exist? Where did we talk about existence?
In
Yeah,
16th
Satta,
verse.
The idea is coming from
16.
16th verse.
Ah,
The idea that the body has existence is negated in that verse. Where?
in
Na
Na
asato, na
Wait.
asato vidyate bhavaha. That which has no sat cannot be said to exist. Mithya cannot be said to exist. And Shankara is borrowing that idea from here. He's saying the idea that existence belongs to the body has to be dropped. You have to understand that that existence belongs to Atma alone. That is why you call it Sat Chit Atma. The body has only borrowed the existence. It is like the heat in the boiling water. That boiling water has only borrowed the heat from the fire. It is not the original intrinsic quality of that water. It is an incidental quality. Shankara here is saying that the better definition than saying that body is dead because it goes from Vyakta Avastha to Avyakta Avastha is to say that this body has no existence at all, no real existence at all, because the existence belongs to the Atma and the body has only borrowed that. And he says that is why Krishna says Antavatta. Either explanation you can take. Okay. One explanation is because the body is destroyed because it is matter. In that case, you have to wait for the body to die. If you don't want to wait for the body to die, and you still want to understand, you can say this body of mine does not have existence at all because it is a borrowed existence and therefore it is mithya. That is the second meaning.
Sir, you used some phrase for it, Jnana Nimitta. I couldn't.
Jnana nimitta nasham.
Okay,
Destruction through knowledge. The other one is marana nimitta nasham. Destruction through death. Okay, are you understanding?
Yes.
Anybody who has not understood?
Sir, can you just repeat these two concepts you said? Jnana Nimitta Nasham and the earlier that the normal death caused by
Normal death is
Not-
death through destruction of the body. That is death. That's what you call death. That is why I say marana nimitta nasham. Destruction of the body because of death. Jnana nimitta nasham is understanding that the body is mithya. That existence does not belong to the body at all. It belongs to Atma. Just like if you want to destroy the necklace, there are two ways. One is to, put it in the fire and melt it down. So that is marana nimitta nasham. The necklace's physical shape itself is gone. It resolves into gold. That is marana nimitta nasham. But you don't need to do that. By simply saying that there is no gold belonging to the necklace. That gold belongs to gold alone. What have you done? You eliminated the necklace because the gold doesn't belong to the necklace. And therefore the necklace does not exist. That is the same argument I'm using here. Existence belongs to Atma and not to the body. Just like the gold is borrowed by the necklace to give it a shape. The existence principle is borrowed by the body to keep it alive. Okay.
Thank you.
Is it clear? These are all very, deep concepts, but that is why I'm saying again and again that at least until we reach the middle of this chapter, you cannot come to class without having made notes and gone through the notes of the previous 7-8 classes. At least from verse number 11 onwards, you should have made notes and keep those notes carefully. Read the whole notes again before coming to the class. Then only will you understand. Then only the benefit will be there. Okay. So, and this point I explained already that there are two, lines here. One says nityaha, not subject to death, and second says anashinaha, not subject to death. And like in the last verse, there are 2 points. Why does he say, that nityaha, not subject to death? Where does he say nityas yoktaha? Nitya, or the shariri is not subject to death, he says. And again he says anashinaha, again not subject to death, not subject to destruction. The same question can be asked, is it not punar ukti doshaha? So we say no, because there are 2 types of death for the body, which is what I was just explaining. One is when the body is sent to the Samshan Ghat, to the cremation ground. That is the well-known meaning of death. That is what is called Marana Nimitta Nashaha. The body is sent to the Samshan Ghat, the cremation ground, there it is destroyed. Okay. So this is also called Dvamsa Rupa Nashaha, loss in the form of destruction. Then the other is implicit in Shadvikara. Every cell in the body is constantly changing. The body you had as a child is not the body you have today, or not the body I had yesterday. I of course say my body is the same, but science will tell you that every few years, every cell of the body changes. And in the years in which you have lived, all the cells have changed several times completely. When the bricks themselves have changed, how can we say it is the same building, right? And therefore my body as a child has gone. It is not being there, is death, right? My body as a child has gone, it has died, because it's not there at all today, because the entire cells have changed. The body which I had when I was 20 years old, it is no longer there, because all the cells have changed again. Because all the cells have changed, a new body has been received. Whenever a new body is received, the old body is no longer there. So we say old body is dead, right? This is called Parinami Rupa Nashaha. Parinami Rupa means what? Nashaha, destruction in the form of change. Parinami Rupa Nashaha. And therefore there are 2 types of death. One is the death in the form of complete destruction, like going to the cremation ground. One is the death in the form of change, which I just said. Your body is constantly changing. Every 7 years, you have a new body. The earlier body is dead. And both these type of deaths, the Atma does not have. That is why Krishna used both the words Nitya and Avinashi. Okay. Now I used a particular order. I mean, I don't think there's a particular order. The idea is there are 2 types of death. One is total death. One is death through change. And there's no order for this. You can use any of these words, Nitya, Avinashi, to represent any of these deaths. And the other words will represent the other type. Right? And Shankara here adds that supposing Krishna had said only one of these deaths, then the full meaning would not have been conveyed. The full meaning that it is neither subject to total death nor subject to death by change. That is what is being said. Okay, any question? With this, we'll stop, because the next word, aprameyasya, also will require some amount of explanation. So I won't be able to complete it in the remaining 1 minute or so. So we'll stop here. And you can, any questions you can ask. Otherwise, we'll continue from here the next time.
Raviji.
Yeah.
So before we mentioned that Vishnu is all pervading, and that's why we say the word namaskar in the salutation, we're referring to that. In outside of India, this word has been very misused. So can you please give a short explanation about the real meaning of what namaskar means?
Namaha te, that is namaskara. I give you my salutations. Namaskar, basically namaha. The word we use is namaste. Namaskara is the noun form. When we do a namaste, you do say namaste, you say, right? That is two words, namaha plus te. Te means you. So I do my salutations to you. The you is basically Ishvara, not the body. So you are saluting the other person in recognition of the fact that Atma pervades that person also, just like it pervades you. That's the meaning of namaskara. That is why you can do namaskara to anything. You can do to a cow, a goat, a tiger, an ant, a plant, a tree, the waters, the mountains, because Ishvara pervades everything.
Even inanimate objects.
Of course, even inanimate objects. Why?
Yeah.
Because very
Right.
much Ishvara is there.
That's why we don't touch anything
Right.
with our feet. We don't kick things around, right?
That's
So-
why you don't kick anything.
Yeah.
But that itself is, because your feet also are pervaded by Ishvara, right?
Why is namaskara the wrong form?
Sorry?
Why is namaskara the wrong form?
It is not wrong form. Namaskara is the noun form. It is referring to the act. But when you're actually doing it, what do you say? Namaste, no? You don't say namaskara. You say namaste. Te is you. You, the divinity or the Atma or the Brahman.
Acharya ji, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So in this verse, do we conclude that there are three kinds of what we say maranam or nashtam, marana nimitta nashtam, jnana nimitta nashtam, and a parinami rupa nashtam?
No,
which is
they're all different explanations.
yes, they are, but
Yeah.
they would we say that one is that which is happening within us, one is what you said like a cremation ground, and we are all trying to get jnana nimitta nashtam where we recognize that we are not the bodies.
Yeah, you can think of it that way. Because here in the second paragraph, remember, he is referring to what? He is referring to Asat. So the nashams which are there for Asat, Atma does not have. That is the what he's saying. In the earlier paragraph, he was talking about Sat. There also the idea converted is the same. So if you put them both together, yes, there are three different types of destruction. One through knowledge, one total destruction by death of the physical body, and one as if destruction by changes in the body.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, so with this, we'll stop here. And I would request you again, please carefully go over the previous 10-12 verses, make notes and read them, and then come to class so that we are able to understand faster and quicker. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Raviji.